Trey Gowdy reveals what John Durham is searching for, and it's a game changer. Hello and welcome to TST. If you are new to the channel, tap on the subscription button and press the notification bell so you can receive news and updates that you can rely on daily. Gowdy said John Durham is looking into whether officials hid evidence in 2016 Russiagate probe. Former South Carolina Republican Representative Trey Gowdy said Sunday he believes U.S. Attorney John Durham assigned to investigate the origins of the Russian collusion probe into the 2016 Trump campaign is also examining whether certain government officials hid evidence from lawmakers and the FBI. In an appearance on Fox Business Network's Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo, Gowdy, a former federal prosecutor, said that the Justice Department's decision not to indict former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe has nothing to do with Durham's investigation. He noted that the McCabe case DOJ decided to pass on was a narrow fact pattern that had to do with something different than Durham's probe, which is actually a criminal investigation. Asked whether it was possible that McCabe was under investigation by Durham now or whether he could be cooperating with Durham's investigation, Gowdy said either of those things is possible. It could be that he's simply not guilty. It could be that he's cooperating with John Durham, or it could be that he is still under investigation for other fact patterns not related to that discrete with the leak in the Hillary Clinton email investigation, Gowdy said. As to what Durham is actually investigating, the former South Carolina lawmaker said there are three things he's looking at. 1. He's examining the origins of the Russian collusion counterintelligence operation against the 2016 Trump campaign begun during the Obama administration. Secondly, Durham is probably looking at how several Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act FISA court warrants were obtained by the FBI to spy on a member of the Trump campaign, Carter Page. Third, Gowdy believes that Durham is also attempting to find out whether ranking officials of the U.S. intelligence community, particularly former CIA Director John Brennan, may have hid evidence from federal agents and congressional investigators regarding when the counterintelligence operation into the Trump campaign actually began. For instance, as Bartiromo noted on a timeline, there are instances where known intelligence assets were making contact with Trump campaign officials as early as December 2015. Though officially, according to Brennan and others who testified before Congress, the counterintelligence probe did not begin until June 2016. I could not be more clear, Gowdy said of his time as head of the House Government Oversight Committee investigating the Russian collusion probe. We asked the DOJ and FBI repeatedly, did anything happen before June of 2016? And the answer was always the same. Nothing happened with respect to the Trump campaign before June of 2016. And if something did happen, then either the FBI misrepresented the facts to us, or if it wasn't the FBI, it was another agency that was doing it. Gowdy continued, both of those are important to know, and John Durham, I hope, is going to be able to answer that question. Gowdy also added he believes Durham is looking at an intelligence community assessment ICA Brennan prepared towards the end of the Obama administration to see if all the right information made its way into the document. Take a watch.
Trey, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
We are lucky to have you this morning as you are one of only two congressmen that were able to see the redacted information, two congressmen from the GOP that were seeing the redacted documents that were so important to both of those investigations, the Hillary Clinton investigation and the Trump collusion Russia investigation. Why do you think McCabe is getting off here from the DOJ? He's already admitted to lying, right, Trey? Is there something we don't know that the DOJ is clearing Andrew McCabe?
Well, Andy McCabe is not being indicted for a very discrete fact pattern, which is simply the leaking of information to bolster his own credibility during the Clinton investigation. That's it. And we should have known weeks ago when they were having trouble getting an indictment. If you're having trouble getting an indictment, then there's no way you're going to get a conviction. You've seen a change in the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Columbia. So he escapes indictment for that narrow fact pattern. But that has nothing to do with FISA and the initiation of Russia and any other potential misconduct that Andy McCabe may have engaged in, that's a really narrow, discrete fact pattern that he's not being indicted for.
So it could actually be that he's cooperating with John Durham, or that he's looking, or a suspect in the John Durham now criminal probe. Is that right?
Well, he's certainly somebody that John Durham would want to talk to, and it could range. It can go the whole range from he didn't do anything wrong, and he did admit to misrepresentations, but that's a little bit different than intentionally misrepresenting or an intentionally false statement. It could be that he's just simply not guilty. It could be that he's cooperating with John Durham, or it could be that he's still under investigation for other fact patterns not related to that discrete one with the leak in the Clinton investigation.
I see. Let me ask you about John Durham and what he is looking at now, because we're all waiting to see what's going on, and we understand that he's been looking at John Brennan's communication as well, then the head of the CIA. In your view, what is John Durham looking at?
Marie, he's looking at three things: the factual predicate for this Russia investigation, and I'm not talking about the summer of 2016. I'm talking about stuff that happened in late 2015 and early 2016. Remember, the DOJ and the FBI told Paul Ryan and Devin Nunes and myself repeatedly and exclusively that nothing happened before June of 2016. No payments were made, no contacts with the Trump campaign. I'm sure John Durham is looking to see whether or not that's true. He's also looking at the FISA process and misrepresentations made to the FISA court. I think he's also looking at that ICA, that intelligence community assessment that John Brennan got done towards the end of the Barack Obama tenure to make sure whether or not that was thoroughly investigated and whether or not all the right information made its way into that ICA. Yeah. Three important things, three separate things.
And you were among those questioning a number of witnesses to try to get to the bottom of this. You actually questioned John Brennan, and John Brennan told you straight out the dossier had nothing to do with the FISA process. We now know that was one of the single things they used, the dossier, to actually get those FISA warrants. But I also want to show this counter-intel activity timeline that we have put together here. And it shows that General Flynn was paid to speak in Moscow in December of 2015. And George Papadopoulos was invited to a conference in Rome in March of 16. And then Mifsud, Joseph Mifsud, told Papadopoulos in April of 2016 that Russia had Hillary Clinton emails. The list goes on and on, April, May, all the way up to July 31st, when the